It was a glorious night. I was sitting with my family in my brother's backyard, high walls all the way around. The trees in the yard came over the table that we were sitting around. The table was filled with figs, mangoes, papayas, dates. We were talking and laughing. You could see the stars through the branches and the little twinkle lights, you know, the ones that go back and forth, that just adds to the ambiance that we're outside on a beautiful evening. What was that? On the breeze? What was that? Honeysuckle, maybe? Oh, this was the best night of my life. I was surrounded by family. Why is it that the last night of my trip is always the best? Every single time I get to leave, that very last night is the best night ever. And I hold on to that feeling, clearly for months to come. It was early December, and I was sitting around with 17, possibly, of my family members in Saudi Arabia. How on earth did a white Anglo-Saxon Protestant, WASP, get surrounded by family members who were Saudi Arabian? That's a good question. And it was one that my brother, Jasm, asked me. Dana, why? Why do you do this family thing? Hadn't really thought about it to put it into words. But the fact of the matter is, what I believe truly in my heart is that if you have kindness, understanding, and learn about other people who are different than you, the world will become a better place. Hands down. That's a book. And so it is. I am in the midst of writing that book. And it is true that the reason we are frightened of people, why there is a question, why there's fear, come on, it's because we don't know them. We don't understand where you're from. I'm sure that many of you have worked with or work with clients that have employees that maybe they're from a different country. They could be from Georgia, for that matter. It's a whole other country. But the point is, oh, that's Texas. Sorry, Texas. But the point is there are people who are different from us. And if we don't understand them, that makes us maybe not afraid as in a spooky movie, but makes us uncertain and not comfortable talking to them. I'm sure we've all run into people who have accents that you don't understand. That happens often in business. Has anyone ever called the tech line? And hello, my name is Bob. I don't think so, Bob, but I'm going to go with it for today. But what makes the conversation hard or easy? What makes it hard is, okay, I can't understand you, so goodbye, slam. I know someone who's very dear to my heart, my husband, and I'll say, did you call the tech guy? Yeah, I couldn't understand him. Did you ask him to slow down? Well, I couldn't understand him. I make the phone call, and I speak to Bob. Bob, I'm sorry, can you just repeat that a little slower? And he does. And I look at my husband. For a Wyoming farm boy, I think he does fairly well, being married to me. I give him kudos. But ask them to slow down. Don't ignore them. Don't act like they're not in the room. Why don't you be the person in the company that goes by that person's cubicle. Hello, Najari. How are you doing today? Super. You know you have an accent because they know. And I want to understand you better when we're in meetings. Can you help me with that? Believe me, that person is so grateful that you have come to them and you want to understand them. They want to be part of the conversation. How do you help them? Why not bring them into your lunch with your other buddies? Introduce them as your friend and coworker. Ask about their holidays. So why do you wear that? That's so interesting. It's so beautiful. I met someone today who was wearing something very beautiful. And I said, ooh, I would love to wear that. And it's important that we ask. Because we're not going to know. I'm not from Saudi Arabia. I don't wear a hijab and a abaya all the time. Why do you wear it? If you were to put out a little understanding and ask a few questions of your people that work for you, that you work with, or your clients, you may get a phone call from a client, a prospective client. You may not be able to understand them, but they are willing to pay you good money for what you do. Are you going to take the time to understand that? That person is worth understanding, but so are the people who are working in the cubicles, working in the back warehouse, putting boxes on trucks. Those people are worthy of understanding. Bring them in to the conversation. Find out what their holidays are. I think that's the best thing. Now, not everybody celebrates Christmas, by the way, or Hanukkah. There's Ramadan. There's Diwali, I think is how you pronounce it. There's all these different holidays. Now, I'm not saying every single holiday has to be a week off, but you can ask them to explain it. We're going to have a little meeting, a department meeting. Why don't you explain, you're having a holiday right now in your country. Can you explain that to us? It will go so far to that person becoming part of the team and working even harder for you. Now, you might not be the boss. You're just another coworker. But believe me, they're going to work harder and care more if you will show concern and compassion. And maybe it's not necessarily dress or looks or accents. Maybe it's someone who came from a completely different company, different industry, and now they're working for you. Ask them questions about that. Find out what their background is. Find out what they truly want to do. A company I worked with had this young lady who was the customer service representative, and she hated people. Somehow this was not a good fit. But she knew everything about the company. She remembered freight bills and product numbers and serial numbers and amounts that products cost back then. I sat down with her one day and I said, so, you like your job? Hate it. Well, how come? I hate people. That's great. Well, what part of it do you not like? And so she gave me a little insight on how much she hated people. And I did see some of her good points that she had. She wasn't all wrong. So I talked to the CEO and the HR people, and they were expanding their IT department. IT, what does that spell other than Bob? It spells someone who is an introvert might like that. So HR asked, would you be interested in learning computers? We'll train you, we'll send you to school, we'll get you certified. Are there people? Very few. I'll take it. Come to find out, this person was a lovely human being. She ended up being one of the favorite people in the company. She had people over to her house for barbecues. Who would have thunk? that this woman turned into the most beloved person in the whole place. Why? Because she was working in the right department. If you have people in your company, people in your client's company that are just not working out, maybe you should find out why. Maybe they just hate people, and you can find a spot for them. It makes life so much easier. My love of understanding people did not come naturally from my family. My mother was wicked, and when I say wicked, it means I'm not telling you how wicked she is. My father, I beloved him. I looked up to him. I revered him. I was a small child, and I think back now, what a wonderful, cool dude he was. He wasn't a cool dude because I got away with everything. No. He was a cool dude because he loved all the kids that came over to the house. He was funny. He was a storyteller. Oh, the man was a storyteller. But he was also very, very prejudiced. He was sexist and prejudiced. 2 daughters and a wife and a female dog. The guy was outnumbered, and it was not good. But as I was growing up and I realized, everything my dad said probably wasn't the nicest thing. I realized that what he said was hurtful, damaging. We had one black kid in our high school, and he and the family lived 2 blocks past where we lived. We walked home from school together. One day after school, I came in the house and my dad was there. I will tell you, it was not a good conversation. And I realized then that he was talking derogatorily about my friend and his parents. And I didn't like it. I started to really look into what kindness really meant, what looking into the differences we all might have, and finding out that we're not all that different. This family that I adopted in Saudi Arabia, I met the young man when he was 34, 10 years ago. He was married, 2 daughters. I have 2 granddaughters. Never thought I would have that. I speak to their family on a regular basis. I speak to his uncles, my brothers. I have found so much out about their culture so that when I come here, I can tell you, when you see a person out on the street and they're wearing a hijab, they're not scary. They're not frightening. They have a different accent. Don't go the other direction. Instead, when we find people who are different from us, why don't we bring them in instead of setting them apart? Your life will be better.